We're doing a quick live thing. We're going to do just a quick stream on Trump's beautiful bill. Let's see. That like button. Let's go. All right, so because Congress is in session right now, I wanted to do a quick stream talking about Trump's big beautiful bill. We're just gonna get everything set up here. Let me know when you if you log in. Go ahead. Let me know in chat if you're MAGA Democrat. Whatever, there used to be an option of like, I'm right-leaning conservative, I'm left-leaning fiscal conservative, all this stuff. We don't have all that stuff anymore. Kind of crazy, kind of gnar. But yeah. We'll be talking a little bit about the news, a little bit about Donald Trump threatening lawmakers with re-election. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't Donald Trump threaten people at this point? It seems like that's all part of Trump's longer term strategy in terms of sort of softly, if we sort of identify the right question about Trump's big beautiful bill, one of the things we can ask is what is this bill going to accomplish? What's the goal? What's the goal here? Do we have an objective? $4 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and businesses. Why? So, just our ability to be able to talk about that stuff, ask those questions, it's going to be huge, right? We should wonder in Fox and Friends when, you have this really harsh rhetoric on both sides, if I get my gorilla on, Fox and Friends, US News, we're going to just walk around, cut everything down we don't like. It's like, well, okay, cool. I can still be a conservative or a progressive. I'm not MAGA. I tend to vote Democrat, progressive. And I can ask like, okay, what's the actual long-term course of cutting Medicare and Medicaid benefits? Did we have that conversation, right? So if Congress is responsible for a budget that is responsive, and sorry for my hair, right? This is very impromptu, but, Congress is responsive to their voters. Shouldn't it be the case that I get to know, well, when did we have this conversation? What was that conversation about? If we talk about like Medicare cuts that are going to impact people with physical and mental disabilities, or if we talk about Medicaid benefits, and we're talking about, my mom and dad, right? I'm that age, I'm a millennial, and this isn't to pull on heartstrings, but if you want sort of the US logic of this, the US logic is that, well, look, I understand that some people would say, let's go ahead and cut government benefits and let's give the free market space to work. But there's also these cases where one, you need access, and two, it's like, well, what would it sorry guys. It could also be the case that it's like, well, what is the case that that like a healthcare CEO would be innovating? Hey, what up, Robin? Good to see you. We've got royalty in chat. Robin Webster, Mod Army, good to see you here. How you doing? Yeah, and so I'm this sort of free market slash, I'm very much for like progressive government. I don't want to roll back social programs. I'd rather find a more efficient way to do things. And so when I see Fox News and Fox and Friends, and they're bringing on these pundits, people that haven't written a lick of policy in their life, or they're bringing on, folks that, dropped out of the Tea Party movement, right? These MAGA failures. And they're not talking about people with mental disabilities, and they're not talking about the healthcare providers. And they're not contextualizing the pennies out of a paycheck that we're usually seeing. User, a good question. No, I am not related to Liver King. I eat a vegan diet. I'm an ethical vegan. I was looking around. I swear to goodness, I was looking around trying to find the best way to feed myself, my body, my brain. I didn't even consider being an alpha or a sigma the first time around. I didn't even consider it. And I just woke up one day and said, quinoa. There's quinoa there, there's quinoa there, there's quinoa here. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, no, Sean, you misspelled it. It's not that I'm on STEDs, I'm on STUDs, right? I'm a stud. Hold on, let me get my glasses. Let me nerd it up for you guys. I'm a stud. I swear to goodness. I'm a stud. My body moves around even when it's not moving around. Do you know why? It's because I'm soft. It's because I'm always soft. I'm fast on my toes, I'm fast on my feet, I'm fast on my knees, I'm fast on my shins, fast on my abs, I'm fast on my spine. I'm fast everywhere. It's because I'm a stud, and it's because I support healthcare for everyone. It's because I support healthcare for everyone. Sean, good to see you though. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. And so if I'm a voter and I'm trying to, okay, let's say I'm a voter and like I'm an old school voter, meaning like in 99% of the world, everywhere except the United States where MAGA's like, let me massage your scalp on this one a little bit. Like my position is like, look, I know my parents are going to benefit from Medicaid at some point, in terms of medication. There's maybe ways that we can support better information, knowledge about long-term health when we're talking about social health, and not trying to tell people like I need to get like, oh, so deep into your life, right? I need to be so deep into your life and telling you how to live, right? I don't need to do that, but I know my parents are going to need that, right? I don't care anything about like some like super robust legislative solution. If my parents need it, then it's like, cool, let's go ahead and do that, and we can go forward together then. I don't want people driving to a veterinary school for like their human medication and stuff. Those tropes are like sort of fake, sort of real. It's whatever. And so yeah, so if I'm a voter, I see that like, look, I know some of my kids' classmates might have learning or physical, mental impairments, a disability. When we put them against every other kid in school, they might need extra care in the classroom, a little extra attention on the lesson plan, or they might need like freaking, what do you call it? Their mom and dad decide that like, look, we can do a little like physical therapy or something outside of it. I don't know if I always have money for that kind of stuff. So it's like, cool. In my opinion, let's go do that kind of stuff, right? And who can pay for it? The people who benefit the most from those systems in the first place. That's the typical Democratic line, right? That's the typical Democratic line, is that like, there isn't, when we think about like great man theory, let me know if you know about great man theory, but when we think about great man theory, there isn't like some, I wish I could do this as Liver King, but like no one is, if we're talking, there's no one that is like that unique or special that you're not going to get pushback that, you didn't contribute to like, whatever it's called. You didn't contribute to this overall sort of system and like the success that we can find that we're working together. And yeah, I feel like, the big, beautiful bill, another way of saying that is like, well, if you're with Trump, we're all great men now, right? We're all too special to pay our fair share. It's crazy stuff. So yeah. So, if you were up last night, there were people up to like midnight, right? There are people up to like midnight. And one of the reasons is that when like sometimes this is why conversations are so important, right? I'm not telling you to thicken it up that much, but Congress was up to midnight, and I'm sure that people who were stressed about this decision, as they've been stressed about Trump's executive orders, were also up to midnight, because so many people were like, well, where was the conversation around this, right? Like, okay, so now Democrats apparently are the ones who can't facilitate a dialogue, a deliberative sort of process. We can't get other people to weigh in on the process in the system. We can't get, this is the claim, is that, Democrats, you know, for wherever it came from, because they don't agree with me, Democrats don't have a strategy or a plan for the United States, when in fact it's the opposite, right? Democrats have been saying that, like, look, the American people are capable of doing more. We can do more for ourselves. We can do more for MAGA, for like Democrats can do more for MAGA lawmakers, right? There's better conversations that we can have about, cutting the budget. There's better conversations that we can have um, making sure that, like, law enforcement and our first responders are safe. We can figure out, like, what's the actual 5 or 10 year plan or immediate plan to backfill all these departments around the U.S. who can't fill their roles, right? That's crazy. It's one of the crazy ones. But you have to be able to have that conversation, right? You have to be able to have that conversation, and right now that's not happening. Yeah, Mike in his prime, right? 100. I don't know if you guys know 120-year-old. 100. Mike Tyson always reminds me of what's his name? Who's that bodybuilder? Ronnie. What's his freaking name? He was a cop, and then he went into bodybuilding. I forgot his name. Yeah. Typical Democrat. Typical MAGA voter. Typical everything. Typical this. That's crazy. Here's another reason why I think, like, Trump's legislative packages are being rushed a little bit too much. It's like I know I'm gonna need a computer, a PC in the next, like, 2 years, right? Sometime in the next year or two. So I've been, like, going online and like I haven't bought a PC in a while, and, like, kind of researching the differences and stuff like this. And, like, if I'm buying a PC, like, I'm buying a policy or something, like, I might want to know, like, okay, well, what's the actual difference between the thing I'm buying? Like, what am I doing on the computer, and what's the computer doing? Why is it, like, what's the actual benefit that everybody has now? Like, everybody has computers that are 3 gigahertz and up, right? When it's the case that, like, the 1.5, back in the day, those, like, 2 gigahertz computers were crazy. Now everybody's got, like, these 6, 8, 15 core computers. You've got super 8K cameras and microphones and all this stuff. And some people are like, when you're buying something like a big beautiful bill, or you're buying a a politician's basically buying your vote because they're talking about the issues that you care about, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna sit with this guy. I'm gonna be able to focus on my life, or sit with this guy for the next, like, 10 or 12 years. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. That totally makes sense. It's a different way to look at it. And so when I go back to, like, why with the big beautiful bill didn't we have a conversation in the first place? Why didn't we have this, like, dialogue about, isn't it the case we should talk about who this impacts? We should talk about where the funding sources come from. Shouldn't we talk about what other alternatives Americans have? Shouldn't we talk about, like, how's healthcare doing first? Why don't you start there? If I'm a free market guy and I'm buying a PC or tablet, and my thing is, like, let's have the conversation. Like, instead of telling me about, like, a graphics card or the resolution of the screen or something like that, can't you tell me, can't you tell me how the overall system's doing, and why there's the need for this subsidy on top of health insurance or outside of it? Can't we talk about that? What's up, Dave Thomas? Good to see you. Aiden, good to see you from the UK. I don't know why I felt the need to do an accent at you. I could tell you something else next time. I'll tell you something else next time. Let's go. Yeah, and I agree. I don't know, Dave. You're throwing some critique at me a little bit. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. We're all very open here. And yeah, this ability, what happened for so long, I think, is people forgot that on social media, and no offense, but a social media conversation isn't the same thing as like a real life conversation, right? And if you sort of look at the bar between like what you hear on TikTok or something like that, what you hear on Fox, on YouTube for this big, beautiful bill, and now basically Fox News is like one giant YouTube, kind of shit posting machine or whatever it is. Like that conversation is way different. That conversation is way different. And I would just challenge you, like, go look at what Bernie Sanders posted yesterday. Okay. I hope y'all are feeling good, by the way. If you're new here, feel free to like and subscribe. Come say what's up in chat. I'm checking y'all out. Yeah, MJ Dietz, great to see you. Sean Twed, I already said what's up to Sean. Good to see you all. Yeah, and so as someone who's like I'm into political stuff, political science, geopolitics. I'm not like crazy big on domestic politics, but it irks. People say irk and they don't like that word, right? But if you don't want to take my lunch money, it irks me quite a bit that, for me, what I need to decide something or to feel confident, like to really kind of get behind something, it's like, well, you got to tell me what we're talking about. I don't know what that voice is, but yeah. You got to tell me what we were talking about. What we were talking about. I don't remember being told what we were talking about. I'm not that forgetful. Do I look like a fucking goldfish? I might look like Liver King, but I don't look like a goldfish. No offense to goldfish in the first place, but I don't remember being told what we were talking about and when my faculty to have a conversation got hurt or injured. Hurt or injured or tired, laid out, laid down, all that stuff. I don't remember seeing Republican lawmakers walking around to dilapidated healthcare services or Medicare offices, either one. They're providers, people in network, and saying, well, look at how bad these people are, because they're not bad. Like, where would that even come from? What else does that imply, right? If we're going to talk about how, there's all these drains on the system and we can do so much more for it. Yeah. See, those are the types of comments I think I'm supposed to love on YouTube, baby. Let's go. This is what I'm talking about. Oni knows what's up. I'm going to read this one out because this is an amazing comment. You look crazy healthier than Liver King. That man just looks rated to absurdity. Let's go. Let's go, Oni. That's my boy right there. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Let's go back to Medicare and Medicaid. Let's go. No, this is cool. Oh, roided. Yeah. That's baked bean. That's baked bean muscle. I like baked beans. I'm an American, and I recall my daddy telling me about the noble bean, the noble great bean, all this stuff. Yeah, if Trump's big beautiful bill is going to buy me more beans, then I'm going to get me more beans. Oh yeah. NorCal Aggie. NorCal Aggie. Do you go to? Is it Davis or Davis the Aggies? Davis is a beautiful city. I've been there. I'm not trying to dox no one. I just see your username, which says NorCal Aggie. Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, and I'll just say this: if the Jews are anywhere in chat, and you guys want to weigh in on just like one chat for the big beautiful bill, that's awesome. That's awesome. I was just arguing about the Jews, the Jews in Discord. Part of these political science, and it's always funny because one of the conversations or questions people sometimes have is about exceptionalism. And it's like, cool, if you're going to have that discussion in good faith and like we can learn together, and like right when I talk about the Jews, the viewership like jumps up or something. But like, if you're going to have a conversation in good faith about culture and government, exceptionalism, like where that fits and how big that is, if it exists at all, that's crazy. That's really crazy, right? This was my whole argument for Trump's big beautiful bill in the first place too, right? The reason we don't do a lot of that kind of stuff. Oh, word. Yeah, I've driven through Chico. I think I got a hamburger in Chico a couple days back. I helped a buddy move there. Cool. Those old school A&M schools. A&M schools are some of the oldest public institutions, publicly funded things in the U.S. We're not going to be talking about Jewish influence on the Trump administration. I don't even want to mention it anymore. Apparently, when in Rome, right? But I'd like if you guys want to do like a great big Israel versus the USA or Israel and the USA stream or something. Let me know. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I will set that up. I will bring my research. I will take on anything that you guys want to say about that. For better or worse, I will agree, disagree. I'll steel man. I'll be good faith. Yeah. When will we change? Good to see you. Good to see you. Rob Turner, great to see you. Great to see you. Yeah. Yeah, we had speaking of Rob Turner's comments in Free Palestine, and I'm going to come back. Don't forget that we're going to talk about exceptionalism in the big beautiful bill. But Rob Turner, what's his name? Piers Morgan just said today that he called on Donald Trump to stop the war in Palestine. He said that, basically what he was saying is the climate is such that it seems like all Israel is doing at this point in time is killing civilians. What control of the region and combatants means is that, yeah, civilians are in the crossfire. And so Piers Morgan is one of these guys who no one respects or listens to because he's got a beautiful voice, beautiful show, beautiful guests on the show. No offense, I'm all about that stuff, but let's go back, big beautiful bill, what we're talking about, the topic, and you guys wanted to bring up like Zionism and all this other stuff, so I'll talk about that real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Kuru Reads, what's up? What's up? Yeah, I'm not bald. I got a lot of hair. We're going to go back. So let's go back to this issue of exceptionalism then. So here's like an American exceptional argument is that like, if it is the case, right, we're not going too big brain, but if it's the case that you go out and find out, or you see, you can understand that, what Donald Trump is talking about is a problem that's actually situated in the healthcare system. We're talking about the total cost, right? When we think about Medicare and Medicaid, yeah, they're robust programs. They serve a lot of Americans, but they're a small aspect of the overall healthcare expense. So if it's the case that we should innovate, then we should also ask, or if it's the case, we should look at cost reduction. We should look at accessibility. We should look at free market solutions. We should kind of focus there. Then it's also the case that we shouldn't be doing these Medicare or Medicaid cuts when it impacts outcomes if you can't get that over to the healthcare people. If you can't get it over to the healthcare people, and so where's the discussion again about that? It seems like a very broken chain. It doesn't seem like this unbroken chain for a big beautiful bill. And I'll be the first person to say, I'll say no offense, right? Hey, no offense. If we see Donald Trump, actually facilitating a fair conversation, and let's say we can, if he wants to have this like existential fight to the death, like very fascist style conversation, and let me know if you guys believe Donald Trump is a fascist in chat, right? Let me know. We can talk about that too. But like, if Donald Trump wants to have this fascist conversation and cut benefits, cut taxes, all this other stuff, cool. But I don't remember having that conversation. Once again, your buddy Duck is here. You guys are all here. Yeah. George W. Bush, Israel are not Jews. Stop conflating the two. Yeah, cool. So I don't want to do Jews, the Jews Israel talk today. No offense. If that's what you guys want to talk about, cool. That's awesome. This is coming in right on that other side of things, and so thank you, and thank you to everyone else who said, who talked about Jewish Hollywood or whatever it was. Isn't that sort of amazing? It's sort of amazing that we always have these sort of bases for our conversations. We always have a base. Here's my Hollywood speech. There's a base of our conversations that always exists around the sort of cold grip of racism that's always existed in our country. Be this against people of any creed or skin color. So one of the things that makes America wonderful is that the cold grip of racism never converts to a hard, warm grip of racism, except when it does. And so then we know what we're talking about. Thank you. Thank you. And to the audience, you're the reason that this exists. I thought it was a beautiful speech. I thought it was a beautiful speech, honey. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. His wannabe North Korea parade. Yeah, Edward Penny, that was a lot of military stuff. Very strange, very weird. I think that's what you're talking about. What was it? Whose birthday was it? DOD's birthday? Let's talk about, I don't know why you don't have a parade. It would be funny. You could have a parade for the CIA's birthday, and you could, you could just like put a bunch of people in like different colored boxes, red, white, and blue boxes, and you could just kind of push them down, Pennsylvania Avenue or something, just so you don't see who they are, right? Because if you work in foreign intelligence, obviously you don't want people knowing who you are. That would be a parade, right? That would be America. That would be America. Do you guys know what these folks are going to do? Hopefully nothing too nefarious or subversive, but there they are. Go, if you want at them, go get them. If you want at them, go get them. Let's see. Kuru's got an opinion. Let's say, I feel like before even touching medical and housing cuts, you need to make big companies and millionaires pay their taxes. So big companies and millionaires pass over the $20 bills. Big companies and millionaires. And so what these people have in common is they guys, don't ignore this, right? If I look left and I need to go just a little direction either way, I'm a millionaire, I'm a big company. What I'm doing is I'm looking around and I'm seeing I'm getting some kind of benefit. I'm going to be super good faith to Steelman Kuru's opinion. We might cover the other side, but if I'm a big company and I look left and I look right, I'm seeing all kinds of benefits that I'm getting from doing business in the United States. Maybe I live in a safe community. My family might travel and stuff. I can go to any safe community in the US. I can not just do that, but I can hire people with US degrees anywhere in the US. I can consider like these really enticing employment packages that might include education and healthcare benefits. That's all stuff that I can do, but it's because of the US. I'd never be able to do that otherwise. And so what Kuru reads, what I take this to be is that like before touching medical and housing cuts, we need to make big companies and so they're not paying taxes. And what we're seeing is that, medical and housing cuts. And so one of the reasons, what Kuru is saying, and this was actually a really complicated point, right? This is why you guys are awesome, chat. And also, again, Edward Penny, what's up? Bipolar Bear, good to see you. Thanks for joining the chat. And so this is an argument that like, look, the thing that makes America possible for a lot of people is you don't have to create $70,000 a year jobs or $80,000 a year jobs for everybody. If I go into gorilla mode, I go into not liver king, but vegan king mode. And I say, what Donald Trump and the Republicans don't understand, quinoa, just get people in these houses, get people this healthcare, quinoa. Quinoa and lentils. Get Donald Trump into these buildings. Hamburger quinoa in a house with healthcare. You got a broken arm, you get a cast. If you're the vegan king, you don't get a cast. I'm not going to start doing that, but so get that base layer taken care of. Have people understand it. Have the conversation, right? Great suggestion. Kuru reads, you could be a Democratic strategist, right? Have a conversation. Ask the MAGA and Donald Trump, right? Let's have a conversation around these sort of core things that people understand with housing and healthcare. And then we can talk about, is it fair or unfair that when corporations are looking around, they're looking for the next thing to do in the United States. They're saying, well, I have to pay taxes now. Okay, I will, if we can have an honest conversation, I can grant you a lot of this. And I have to pay taxes now. And, it doesn't matter if those taxes are going to, some kid named, Dave, Jane, whatever it is, who's having trouble reading. It doesn't matter if, Dave and Jane's mom or dad is on disability. It's so important right now that we get these people back thinking about the economy in a way that they couldn't otherwise if they didn't have a couple extra quarters in their checkbook. Let's have that conversation. I hope you guys followed. That's like big brain politics stuff. That's what we do here. What did let's see, Bipolar Bear was saying Blue Angels yearly budget is 30 million. Yeah. So that's funny. That's like a huge reminder. Donald Trump, the Trump administration, I think the federal government is suing Minnesota for a $380,000 a year tuition program. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't illegal, but with a program of that size, I'm sure the people administering it would say, let's fight. Let's figure out what $380,000 a year, just like, it's money, you should consider it, but like, what did this little bit do wrong, or some kind of BS, some kind of complete, total, utter bullshit, right? We should imagine that we would see Democrats talking about stuff like this. We should imagine that MAGA voters would want to know that you don't have someone spending more than $380,000 in government resources to fix a conversation that would be like a plan or something. That would be like, it's going to cost them, $2 million just to litigate this stupid case, when you could probably just call them up and say, like, look, we want this stuff to be effective. We want it to be in line with whatever. Yeah, you absolutely have to keep things in, but, this seems like the petty nonsense when you have everything else going on, and now Minnesota's back in the crossfire. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, Blue Angels are crazy. I'm in Arizona. We got a bunch of airfields out here. So you'll see advertisements. Luke Air Force Base is in Arizona. And so we always see advertisement. I always used to see advertisements for like the aeronautical shows and stuff like that. I think Embry-Riddle, which is an aeronautical institute, has a place up north. All this stuff. Pachamama Radio, what's going on? VA stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's a bad thing. Okay, so I'm not a veteran. I had grandparents that served, but if I look at you guys, I don't think it's a bad thing to say that, well, when we have American common sense about taking care of people, and we try and understand the circumstance, and we fund based on that, right? And we can imagine that it's probably pretty competitive to get VA funding, especially in 2025, But if I look at people that served in the military, it's like, cool. Yeah, I like that we have a common sense conversation that probably includes a lot of the components that, my neighbors would have, or for my mom and dad, right? I think it's good. I don't think, I think like with people like Marco Rubio, Marco Rubio, JD Vance, these people that when they talk, it doesn't seem like they know anything except what they're going to do, right? You know, you know, you know. I just went out to my driveway and I picked out a butcher knife or whatever. I don't know. This is what these guys seem like. We were having a nice conversation. All I was going to do was go chop some wood, chop some meat. That's what I was going to go do. I swear to God, Your Honor, I didn't have any other thought in my mind. That's what these people look like. They're freaking insane. And we don't have that same VA conversation about other healthcare benefits. We don't have those same conversations. No, Savol, what's up? Good to see you. Slumdog Millionaire, what's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, I'm gonna read Slumdog's comments. Let's talk about it. Yeah, and sorry, just real quick before I go to Slumdog, just Pachamama Radio, Pachamama, whatever it is. Yeah, also slashed our low-income children meals, American Cancer Research, NHI funds, Department of Energy, Education, all that. Yeah. So I feel like that's just proving a point, right, about a conversation, right? It's not proving my point about budgets and how we have this stuff, but like this is what you missed when you weren't here earlier. Is I was saying my opinion is sort of like a little bit of a progressive guy, free market guy. Is that like with the big beautiful bill? I want to know why something like I understand why NHI or NHS, NIH stuff, like whatever it is, all this stuff. I want to know why that money is so effective now that we take food out of a starving person's hand. We take the medicine out of the hand of a sick person to go do that stuff, right? You can actually have that conversation in the United States because this is America. But if we didn't have that conversation, even when you thicken that baby up and you talk about the long-term implications for policy and for who the Republicans and Democrats will have to run about this stuff, if you take all that stuff away, then my mind's blown, right? I don't know where I landed. Slumdog Millionaire says, to be honest, I'm mad of how society is nowadays. Because the economy, prices going up and shit, this is embarrassing for people with minimum wage who goes through that stuff. Yeah. That's very true, right? This is like right in line with what I was a conversation, right? If I'm debating with all you guys, maybe we're on the same team, maybe we're not, but I would talk over you, Slumdog. No offense, I'm going to talk over you, and what I would say is like, well, the first thing I see when I look around, the first thing I see when I look around is that American corporations have a ton of opportunity to build great products, to make a lot of money, to support American security, to support the American dream for voters. They don't just have to do the things they have to do. We have opportunity ahead of us. But when you look at inflation and how people understand that, how it impacts people, right? Those hours and minutes between days and weeks. Corporations still have a longer way to go. And we're not only going to make progress by putting all that pressure on people to like, oh, live within your means, right? If you want like the drill instructor, fake drill instructor sort of, glow up and stuff. It's like, how the hell did you buy a Vizio TV for $179 on Black Friday when it's the case that, you struggle to afford canned beans? You can't afford canned beans unless they're on sale and you bought a Vizio 179 TV. Like, yeah, who knows? A small bit of that, right? Small bit of people saying like, look, this is where the thing I'm buying came from. This is why I bought it. This is the value I get out of it. This is why that's the best deal in town. And in terms of not even needing a deal, in terms of thinking about my values, what I want to accomplish for myself or my family, when I look at all that stuff too, maybe I don't even care about canned beans right now. Maybe I can take Slumdog Millionaire actually seriously and say, look, people in America have a right to be mad. They have a right to be mad, not even just about the conversation, but they have a right to be mad because Donald Trump is telling people they don't know what they know. Maybe that's why we don't have a conversation, is because the MAGA Republicans and Fox News and all these crazy far-right Christian broadcasting networks, they're not doing something like Christian Science Monitor or CNN is doing, right? They're not doing that stuff. What they're telling you to do right now, they're telling you that you don't know what you know. You don't know enough to be mad. You don't know enough to have a conversation. You don't know enough to have a conversation and then be mad if you lose. All you can do is accept this fascist executive order driven machine, which is driving America downward. It's driving the US downward. Where's the common sense in that? Where's the common truth in that? Somewhere between the conversation we have in reality, somewhere between those things, even if you don't need to put the full picture together right now, somewhere between a conversation, information, and reality, you're going to find something that resonates with you. How about that? Who knows? Maybe all of us here, maybe folks here that are MAGA or folks here that are progressive or folks here that are totally don't care. You're agnostic, okay? You're agnostic. You go out and do something, you come back and you can change your mind about it. You learn new information. You learn it's got to be different a different way. You don't get any of that when we accept that in the United States right now, what's happening is people are telling Americans, vote for the president to go to war. Vote for the president to take away from the people who have the least. Vote for the president who's going to stick predator drones in the military on other people. Bullshit. You're allowed to be a little bit mad, but this is what mad looks like to me. Let's go. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Suki, what's going on? What's going on? Good to see you, Mr. Smith. Great to see you. Great to see you. Ooh, good to see you. Hello, bro, to you too. Nasival, did I get the bed bugs out? I've never had bed bugs. I know I don't look that great right now, but I feel healthy. I feel strong. I had a bowl of beans with some vegan cheese on it yesterday and the last chips in the bag. That's how I'm living right now. No bed bugs, but I did have beans and vegan cheese yesterday. Let's go. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you guys want. China, great to see you. New here. What's up? What's good? Rob Miguel, what's up, bro? What's up? What's up to you too? Nothing to see here. Cool beanie. Heck yeah. This is my Goodwill ASU hat. Another major problem, folks. For all the folks who are new here, I got this hat at a secondhand store, and I can almost guarantee that this is a rip-off Nike golf hat. I can almost guarantee you, look at how flimsy this mofo is. Look at how easily this thing bent. I don't know, you guys want me to look like old school Allen Iverson a little bit? How about that for the Big Beautiful Bill, right? How about the Big Beautiful Bill has a project to go back and talk about every single time J.D. Vance, every single time Donald Trump, every single time Ron Paul, every single time Marco Rubio, every single time Ted Cruz, every single time Sean Hannity, every single time Tucker Carlson, every single time Megyn Kelly, every single time Candace Owens went back and talked about China and counterfeit goods and espionage and all the fun buzzwords that we wanted to hear and didn't actually say anything meaningful about that stuff. How about we go back in time and we talk about that stuff? Why can't we? It should be a little fun. It should be a little funny, guys. That's not a conversation either. We're talking about reality and conversations and Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. We're talking about reality. We're talking about having a conversation based upon what people see when they wake up, when they finish their cup of coffee, when they're telling you what's honest, what's true. You're going to go out and you're going to talk about what's possible, and you're not going to talk about the lies that we've heard over the last 8 years. You're not going to talk about the lies. That's madness to me. That is what madness to me is like. And I don't care where you're from. I don't care what state you're from. You know, I'm not a big fan of, Rand Paul, Ron Paul, all those guys. I don't remember those guys being the first ones out talking about birther conspiracy theories. I don't remember those guys being the first one out talking about taking away benefits from the American people I don't remember these guys saying that, look, we're not going to talk about what American businesses are capable of. And now Donald Trump is threatening those people in Congress. He's saying we need to get even more crazy because of this big, beautiful bill. For all of it, it's crazy to me. Yeah, Rob, I am a vegan. China says, I love to hear people's views on stuff like this. Yes, yeah. Look, I would be having a different opinion, because I think it's Monday, right? Yeah. So if I was on my LinkedIn account or something and I had the opportunity to listen to a CEO from the healthcare or a healthcare adjacent industry, and they wanted to talk to me and tell me about, well, look, the free market and the healthcare exchanges can actually carry a lot more weight. We shouldn't have all these taxes. What we should be doing is we should be looking for the on-ramp for government subsidies for corporations. And when I say this as a healthcare leader talking about the same people that Congress is talking about. I'm talking about people that traditionally can't afford healthcare. And I'm going to tell you why we can become more efficient and why we can do it better, and why it doesn't just make sense to have people pay their taxes on this stuff. People have to be able to pay their taxes. You have to be able to have confidence in this liberal regime where free markets and societies work together. It don't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense. But we're not hearing that. That's not what MAGA's saying. MAGA's saying brown people bad, right? Birthright citizenship, bro. Birthright citizenship. We talked about that yesterday too. We talked a little bit about birthright citizenship. We should have, says we should have universal health care, but not with complete open borders. That's dumb AF. That's dumb AF. Yeah. So, I would love to hear what that picture looks like. Again, when we're talking about conversation and reality, and I think that's really awesome. You're posting an opinion in chat. The other thing is that if I hold you a little bit accountable, I actually want to hear from people in the healthcare industry about, well, if the US system has so much dead weight on it, and one of those cases is you have illegal immigrants. Well, what aren't you doing right today that you really want to do and you need to do? What's the actual next step for American healthcare? Because it's funny, because people can criticize this and say, well, look, even countries like Cuba and other places in Latin America have figured out that, anyone can get healthcare and you have a longer life expectancy, lower disease rates in a lot of ways. In a lot of actual tangible ways that impact your mom and dad, brother, sister, cousin, all this stuff. And so even this argument that illegal immigrants are the reason the healthcare system is wrong, well, if I'm trying to have a conversation, look at reality, and make a decision based on reality and what people understand, I'm trying to not move forward too fast, and this is going to keep me honest. I swear to God, all I was looking for was a new MRI machine. All these people coming in with broken skulls, broken jaws, broken cancer bones. You ever seen a cancer bone when it goes under a 2-ton truck? Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Doesn't even look pretty. Cannot look pretty. No, because I don't, I'll have that conversation, but I'll talk over you if I have a better conversation. That's the only time I do that. I don't know about you guys. No offense. That's a great comment, though. You don't need to, any relation to Paul Rudd? No, I have no relation to Paul Rudd. I don't have any celebrity. So I ain't got no offense. I don't have celebrity endorsements yet. I am looking for maybe Alani or Prime or maybe Ghost Energy to sponsor the channel. I think that's the next big step. Can you imagine though? I was thinking about this, is that Folgers coffee is sort of not NAR. There's a lot of NAR brands that I could get to pitch in, But like if Folgers Coffee came up and what they said was like, no offense, bro, but the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup, bro. And I said like, well, I don't even know what that means, dude. I would say that that's not NAR, but then if they were going to pay me a lot of money, that would be NAR. That would be NAR. I would even tell them like, yo, you're, no offense, but your stupid coffee brand, I have like 150 subscribers. I could like have a couple Folgers and say, hey, everybody here, it's so NAR when you like and subscribe. Stick around so YouTube like saves your comment and stuff too. And like, Folgers, because those guys, all they care about is coffee. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm not going to lie at all, man. All Folgers cares about is coffee. A lot of people won't say that, but I'm honest here. I'm the only honest one here. I mean, go look at what chat's saying right now. No one in chat is honest, guys. I'm honest. So I don't want to get, this is why I don't want to know who Jake Paul is. I only want to know about Folgers Coffee, dude. Meritocracy, Bipolar Bear, bringing up meritocracy. Meritocracy. Patriot Dad, good to see you. It's yo boy. Hello, what's up? What's up, my boy? What's up? It is good to see you. It is good to see you. We are chilling out here. We're chilling out here. Let's go. JL, good to see you. When was your last shower, brother? I don't know. That's a personal detail. I just had coffee 2 hours ago. Is that what you wanted? I'm going for a run, so I ain't going to shower before that. No, I honestly woke up and was like, I saw some of the Fox News, and the reason I was like, let's go live, let's go, like, again, I'm a good guy. I'm all about that NAR stuff, but like, I just saw that like I had 18% battery on my phone, so I was like, I'm going to go live. I'm going to run this mofo down to the wire, and that'll be NAR. That'll be NAR, because then I'll be like Megyn Kelly in some sense. Like in some world, there's no way that you can't say I'm like Megyn Kelly. If that bill saves one person defrauding taxpayers, it will be worth it. If that bill saves one person from defrauding taxpayers, it'll be worth it. Yeah, if that's like an honest argument, that's crazy. But then wouldn't that logic also apply? We had a veteran in here, Patriot Dad, right? We're not doing rhetoric. We're talking about reality and conversations. We're not doing rhetoric here. And so when I have a veteran in my chat and you're going to give me the argument to defund the VA, to defund the services and technology that keep our first responders and our military safe, you're going to tell me that I take my kid out of school, I take your kid out of school because we're going to see fraud anywhere? You can get the fuck out of my chat. How about that? If you're going to spread that fucking bullshit. What's up? Like and subscribe. I'm just kidding, Patriot Dad. That's funny. That's funny. My buddy here's a comedian. My buddy's here is a comedian. No fraud, buddy. Let's go. Who's defending VA? Well, who's defending? Right now you are, Patriot Dad. Here's my impression. No offense. We're not bullying, but I went to the VA. I went to the VA and I thought that they were giving out lollipops and they were intended for kids. That's what the memo said. And then I saw a 37-year-old man, so I reported the fraud in a booth at the VA. Yeah, and so the most offensive thing about what Patriot Dad came in here and said was that you people here in this chat right now, I don't care where you go do something fun, go do something informative, go do something productive. It's a Monday. But he said you don't know enough to not hear my bullshit. That's what he said. He said, you people don't know enough to not hear my fucking fart, my bullshit. All you can understand is this one word, defraud. That's complete bullshit. We're talking about conversations. We're talking about reality. We're talking about the systems and the people involved. We're talking about the expected outcomes. We're talking about how anyone can have their opinion heard. And the loudest voice is going to get heard first. And guess who came in here and said they're the loudest voice? The one that said you're stupid. That's incredible, man. No offense. So Cuttergeist, please. Yeah, cool. No, I'm not like gonna like do like obviously we're an LGBT. Just so everyone knows, we're LGBTQ trans friendly here. People feel a certain way. We're allowed to feel a certain way. You're really at the line, maybe towing over the line. So we try and not use any sort of things that can be construed as a slur. Because if you're using a slur, then maybe there's something that you don't understand. So we're trying to be inclusive a little bit. You saw I just included Patriot Dad in this stuff. So, cat in a box. I hate Monday. See, I love seeing those emojis.